All right, hello, fellow coder. Welcome back to this FreshVotes series. In this one, I want to focus on the duplicate comments and figure out a way to get rid of the duplicates. Then once we've done that, we can tackle the problem of actually showing all of the nested comments, if at all possible, on the front end. But yeah, before we can display them nicely, we should get rid of the duplicates. So how do we do that? Well, my first thought was let's just do it on the Java side, because that tends to be a lot easier than fiddling around with stuff that's already on the model in the presentation layer on the in the front end. Typically, it's just easier to work with stuff from the back end. So first thing is we need to figure out how. We've got two different ways that we're grabbing the comments here. The first way is inside of when we say get feature, we are getting all the comments from the feature object, which, I mean, right now is working fine. We did create an AJAX endpoint where we can actually, via the response body, get the comments by feature ID. But now I'm wondering if this little guy is kind of redundant, because it works just saying feature.getComments. Because they're both kind of doing the same thing, right? When we have a feature, we found a feature by the feature ID here. So therefore we're getting one feature, and we're getting the comments associated to that feature via the getComments method, which is the same thing we're doing over here in our controller. We're passing in a feature ID, and we're getting comments based on the feature ID. So it's kind of the same thing, just done in two different ways. So yeah, I think for now, to keep things simple, although we wrote this code, we might still use this code, but for now, let's keep it simple. I'll just I'll use what we have here in terms of the feature.getComments. So what I'm going to do, though, is I want to create a special method for essentially getting the comments. So we're going to get the comments from the feature, but we're also going to remove any duplicates. Okay. So essentially, I'm going to replace this feature.getComments with a method. So I think if I right-click on this, can I just say extract, refactor, extract method? So this is just me being lazy. I'm going to turn this into a method. I'm going to call this get comments without duplicates or something, essentially. And what that's just going to do is it's going to create a get comments without duplicates where I pass it a feature, and then it's literally just going to return feature.getComments. So that's, me being lazy. So now inside of this new get comments without duplicates method, we will work on removing the duplicates. So how can we do that? So my first thought is order matters here, because essentially we want to get a list of comments ordered by when they were created, and iterate through that list in order, right? Because we want to get the first comment, and then get any comments from that comment, and then any comments from that comment, blah, 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 and sort of go through that list and sort of put them into what I would consider, put them into a set or something to say, hey, these are the comments, based on the comment ID or whatever that we already have. And then that way, as we go through the list, if we see one that has we've already iterated through, we've already added it to this little set. If we already see it there, then we can remove it from our list of comments that we're returning. Now, hold on one second. Feature.getComments returns a set of comments. So technically, the set should get rid of duplicates. Let me just see. Did we override? So one way to determine, for a set anyway, when we have a set, the set needs to determine, generally will exclude duplicates all on its own. So now I'm thinking, well, hold on a second. Since this is a set, it should already get rid of duplicates. But it relies on the equals and hash code methods, and we haven't overridden the equals and hash code methods here. So let me actually do that. Let me just, as a test, let me go source and generate hash code and equals. And what we're going to do here is we're going to say how do we know if two comments are identical, right? Two comment objects. Well, based on their ID. That's the whole point of an ID, is to say, hey, this ID represents a unique entity, a unique object. So I'm going to generate the hash code and equals based on this ID. So that's going to generate this code, right? Now, based on this code, it might just remove the duplicates all on its own. So we'll see. I don't know that for sure. We'll have to see. Let's refresh this page and see if we have any duplicates. Huh. I think that worked. No. Test comment 5, test comment 5. I mean, that definitely looks better than it did before, doesn't it? I think it definitely looks better than it did before. And even when I'm refreshing it, it's not changing the order, which is interesting. So, Are these unique comments? Maybe these are unique, and I just have the comment saying number 5 is my own fault, in that I just maybe inserted 2 comments that had the test comment 5, right? So let me open up my my database here, and let me select star from comments or comment. No, I don't have 2 that are test comment 5. So I guess the nested comment here is causing a problem. Now, is that a problem because of my own code here? Am I just incorrectly... Comment level 1. So... I guess what I can do here is... Let me undo the code, this get comments without duplicate... Well, no, because there still is duplicates. Let me save this code. And let me do this. Let me put a breakpoint and stop the server and restart it in debug mode. And... Actually, no. I want to turn this into a variable so I can actually look at the variable. There we go. So it just, we assign feature.getComments to a variable, so that way I can actually inspect comments and hover over it and see what's up. Let me log back in. Should hit my breakpoint. Ooh, my foot is itchy all of a sudden. So now I've hit my breakpoint. Sorry, while I scratch my foot. Sudden itchy foot syndrome. So let me hover over comments and see what we have in here. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 comments, which is good, right? We want 5 comments, but in here we have, let me see, which one is the one? Oh, plus, I would also like to override the toString method. That would be helpful, but because right now this means nothing to me. So let me actually override the toString method inside of comment as well. So generate toString, and what do I want it to output? I want to output essentially the ID and the text, maybe. That would just be, from a human readable standpoint, what is it that would be helpful? And I'm assuming ID and whatchamacallit, text. So there you go. So now when I hover over comments, now we can actually see the comments and how they're broken down, right? That's a lot more human readable and helpful. So we have comment ID 1, test comment, okay. We go in here and look at comments. So this one has ID 2 and test comment 2, and ID 3, test comment 3, but then 3 has comments, which is comment number 5 and ID 5, and then that's it, right? This guy doesn't have any more comments. So, okay, so that makes sense. And then down here we have comment 2, 3, 4, 5. But what's interesting is 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not what's showing up on the front end, right? If I say go, we don't see 2, 3, 4, 5 appearing on the root level, right? We see test comment 4 appearing on the root level, which is correct, right? Because test comment 4 is root level. So we should see test comment, just test comment, and test comment 4 on the root, which we do see. Test comment 4 on the root level. Perfect. Next, we should see test comment 2 and 3 on the next level. So 2 and 3 are on the next level, but 5 is also appearing on the next level, which is not correct, right? Because 5 belongs to test comment 3, which is here. Okay, so why is it that 5 is showing up on the second level when it should not be? So that leads me to believe that test comment 5 belongs to test comment number 1, essentially, because that's kind of how it's displaying. So why is it doing that? Because I don't think that's what we saw from the Java side. Did we? I don't know. We're going to find out. Does test comment 5 belong to test comment 1? So test comment 1 has these comments, test comment 2 and 3. So no, it doesn't appear in that list, right? So why is it appearing? So maybe this is a display bug. So essentially, we're going to go through comments. So this comments should have, well, it's going to have all the base ones, which are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is where I thought it might get rid of these, but I guess not. I guess it doesn't. The set doesn't get rid of them, get rid of duplicates as roots. So I think I still need to do that because it's still putting those on the root. Yeah, and then my code here must be doing something to, yeah, it's doing some filtering, right? We had this, if comment equals null, then it filters them out. So that's probably why. That's probably what's going on here. So because of this code, it makes it look like it's almost right, but now it's not right. And we saw that in the previous video. So, okay. So that means that although it looks almost correct, we do indeed need to get rid of duplicates. So, okay, we have them in a set, fair enough. So going back to my original thought was going through each of them in order, which it looks like they are already in order. So when we say get comments, does that return, it returns them as a set, but how are they, it just says hash set. So let me do a linked hash set just to actually give order to what we're working with here. And let's put in comparable, so implements comparable comment, which is what we will need to give order. And the order will be like so. Let me say, C? No. Other? Or no, that. This is what we do. We can name it that. Because then we can say this dot ID. No. I want to do it by created date. This dot created date compared to that dot created date. Okay. Essentially, we'll do that. Int, compared value equals. And then what we'll do is we'll say if compared value is 0, then, and I'll explain this code in just a moment. I know if you don't know what this means as compared to and these numbers and everything, you're going to be confused, but I'll explain it in just a second. First, I need to get this thought out. So this created date, and then otherwise we compare on ID, I guess. This dot ID compared to that dot ID. And compared value equals. And then we say return compared value. Okay. So what's going on here is the compare to here is what we use to sort a collection. It sorts it if it's in a collection. And although I might need to actually, with my linked, anyway, hold on. I'll get back there. I'm jumping all over the place. Let me focus on the compare to. So when we implement comparable up here, comparable is used to sort these objects when they exist in a list, or sorry, not a list, when they exist in a collection that is sortable, right? It's a sortable type of collection, of which a linked hash set I don't think is sortable by default. I think I need a tree set. Tree sets are sortable. And so if it's a tree set, if these comments are stored in a tree set, then it's going to say, oh, since they're in a tree set, these need to be sorted. How do I sort them? I look for the compareTo method. And I've overridden the compareTo method, so I'm telling it how to sort these comments if they appear inside of some sort of a sortable collection. So how am I sorting them? Well, first I'm saying I'm sorting them by created date. So in other words, I'm saying this dot created date is compared to, that. That's a bug. That dot created date. This, that. So basically, this is how it works. It's a bit confusing because you really need to think in terms of objects that are already instantiated in a list. It goes through the comments. Let's say we have 5 comments in a list of comments, or a tree set of comments, because tree sets are sortable. So we look at our tree set of comments, and it goes through each of the 5. It goes to the first one and compares it to the next one. So that's what the this and that is in the code right here. So it looks at the first one and says this comment. I'm going to compare it to the next one, which I call that comment. And it says this comment's created date, compare it to that comment's created date, and get a value. And if this comment's created date is less than that comment's created date, we'll return a negative value. If this comment's created date is greater than that comment's created date, then it'll return a positive value. And that's how it sorts it. Negative goes first, positive goes, last or next, as compared to these two. And then it goes through and sorts them all in that fashion. Now, what happens if the created dates are identical? Okay, could happen. You could have 2 comments come in at the same second of the same day. Well, then it's going to return 0. Okay, if the 2 values are equivalent, it returns 0. So what I'm saying is, hold on a second, what happens if these 2 values are 0? How do I then order them? Well, I'm going to order them based on their IDs, because their IDs are never going to be equivalent to each other. That's the point of an ID. It's always unique. And we'll just choose the one that's before the other one. So really, in all cases, we could probably just sort by the ID, because the IDs should reflect the ordering appropriately. Like the ID should, a bigger ID should always be after a smaller ID, but just in case, I'm using something that's more human readable, which is created date, and then I'll fall back to the ID, and I'm going to return that compared value, and that's how it sorts. Okay. Now, having said that, I kept saying tree set, but that's not how we are storing them, right? Where's the comment, feature controller, get comments inside of feature. So we're doing a linked hash set, which by default, a linked hash set, I don't believe is sortable. It'll keep order, so as you insert them into this linked hash set, it'll keep the order in which it is inserted, but it won't sort at all. So I think we'll need a tree set in order to have it be sorted automatically. Phew. Okay, so first that will help us to order everything appropriately. Now, once things are ordered, then we can go through and implement the solution. How far? Oh, I'm already 18 minutes in. I'm sorry, guys. This is going to be a longer video. That's the way the cookie crumbles. So, if you need to take a break, go take it now. I can hit pause and come back. But now we've sorted the stuff. So maybe let's run our code and make sure it works properly. And we'll see if things look sorted or look any different. So it's hitting my breakpoint. I mean, I would expect the comments are still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, exactly, right? And then within here, they should still be sorted 2, 3, right? So, I mean, it doesn't look any different. And the output is still the same, so that's good. That's, it's doing its job. So, fair enough. Now, let's see. What my thought was we're going to go through, we're going to iterate through the comments. We'll take the first comment and then iterate through its children, and then iterate through, if that one has children, then we'll iterate through those children, and so on and so forth, and add these comments to our own set of probably just comment IDs. We'll just store the ID. That way, if we detect one where we've already stored the ID, then we won't include it. We will remove it from our overall list of comments that we're returning. So, in other words, since we hit this one first, we won't. We will remove this one from the list, essentially. Okay? That's sort of how my brain is working on this, and this might be very difficult to actually to achieve what I want to achieve here, because again, we're running into the same problem now that I think about it. It's this nested problem. It is a recursive problem that we need to be solving here. So this is really a recursive thing, right? So maybe we should wait until the next video to dive into this, because I think now that I'm thinking about it, it really is recursion that we need to do, and that is a whole nother can of worms to do that. Okay, yeah, that's going to be a tricky one. So yeah, because we need to write a recursive method that will recursively go through the comments and the children of that and the children of that and the children of that and add it to this list of already visited comments. And then if we hit one that is a duplicate, then we need to perform an action. Yeah. Ooh. Recursive stuff is fun, but it's a little complex. So there you go. We'll stop this video for now, and in the next one, we will try to create a recursive method to remove duplicates, essentially. And this solution is kind of like it's going to be the same kind of solution that we supply on the front end, right? Because the front end, we will need to essentially do the same thing, recursively go through each of these comments and display them. So yeah, that's the solution. Yeah, I think so. Cool. All right, there you go. So we did a bit of work in this one, although nothing really tangible that we can walk away with and show on the front end, but we've got our comments being sorted properly, and we've come up with an idea for how to solve the second problem, which is the display problem. So turns out the recursive solution is going to solve both problems. Cool. So let's go ahead and see if we can implement that in the next video. Looking forward to seeing you there. Take care of yourself. Happy learning, and bye for now.